Hey everybody, it's Frozen, and it's been a while since I did another Q&A round, so I figured I'd go back to all the questions. I have quite a few to answer still, and I've been kind of slacking, so I apologize. We will get to these. You guys asked, I will answer. Let's grab a beer. Today I'm drinking some Golden Monkey. It's delicious. Not as good as Delirium, but quite a bit cheaper. Okay, first question. What was the best food you ate on trail, and what was the worst? Kathmandu's buddy picked us up, got us a ride into town, and then brought us back to the trail in the morning. And we went to Outback Steakhouse, and it was so good just consuming a whole bunch of protein and a whole bunch of carbs. I think I got mashed potatoes and a loaded baked potato that night along with my ribeye. As far as the worst, I'd say the green packet of instant oatmeal. I think it's cinnamon. I want to say cinnamon and spice, but that might not be. Whatever the green one is, I can't stand it. Was there ever an occasion on the AT where you could not use your hammock? I personally never ran into a location that I couldn't get around. So if there was a location that I couldn't use my hammock, I would simply bounce a quarter mile up trail and I would find something miraculously. It's not something you really have to worry about on the AT. You have to be cautious of it, be mindful where you're going to stay. Obviously, you don't plan to stay on a bald or anything like that, but for the most part, it's pretty easy to find a place to hang. Dare I say, easier than a tent spot. You mentioned your knee pain. I'm not sure if it's still an IT band issue or not. It is now. I know you've dealt with that in the past. Sadly, I've noticed a similar type of pain on the outside of one of my knees. Is there a brace or style of brace you would recommend for this issue while backpacking? What really worked for me was just kind of getting a compression sleeve. Not really any brand out there that I'd recommend or not recommend. Murica had one where it went over his knee and then you kind of strapped it down. You kind of tightened it. He said that worked really well for him. But for me, I just chose a random compression brace, and that was really all I needed. But do remember to take it off at night. You want your blood circulating to heal yourself. How hard was it to stay on the trail and not get lost? What was the worst section that was marked with blazes? So I've had this question actually a lot. I'm surprised that it's just coming up now. The worst section of trail is probably going to be through the whites because they don't really use blazes. It's very well labeled, but sometimes you do get off trail and it's kind of an interpretation of where you think you might go. And then southern Maine, I remember being a little tricky too as far as, okay, which way do they want me to go? Other than that, I didn't really find it hard to stay on trail at all. You mentioned going to a tent for the Pacific Crest Trail. Do you still prefer the hammock for the AT? I thought about this question for a couple weeks now, knowing that I was going to do a Q&A, and yeah, I think I'd still bring a hammock on the AT. I don't really see a real benefit to bringing a tent. If you want to bring a tent, by all means, just whatever you sleep better for, you can bring a tent, hammock, tarp, whatever you want to do, shelter rat. It really doesn't matter. Just I kind of sleep better in a hammock. That's just me. So I'd say I prefer a hammock over a tent on the AT at least. Hey Jason, was there a particular spot on the AT that you think you will return to do a 3-day hike and have some time to savor longer? I would absolutely love to do the 100-mile wilderness at 100% during a season where there aren't many bugs. That area was absolutely beautiful. It far exceeded my expectations. And if I was to do anything else, I would probably do southern Maine. Southern Maine was phenomenal, but it was very challenging at the point where I was when I hit it. Hey Frozen, any thoughts of hiking the North Country Trail or attempting to become an Adirondack 46er? I really have put the North Country Trail kind of on the back burner. If I was to do a long trail, that'd probably be the last one I would do, but I would like to section hike part of the NCT at some point soon here. And as far as the Adirondacks, I haven't even visited them yet. I don't know what to expect. It's definitely on my bucket list. I can't wait to do it, but I think I do need a bear canister first. How do you mentally switch from the bureaucracies of work and the I went to live in the woods deliberately or to lose my mind and find my soul mentality of the trail? So honestly, that's just something that kind of just happened. I remember in the Diddley Boppin' episode, we were having food out of a food truck. And I remember I was saying to myself, man, this is really awesome. I wish I could do this forever kind of thing. And it was just a really relaxing time. I love the people that I'm with, so it just kind of happens. I didn't really expect it. Do you plan to continue to hike big mile days or cut back to keep the body from hurting? Everybody's different with what they consider big miles. I probably will cut back my mileage at the beginning of the spring, hopefully the end of winter when I get back out there. I'd like to kind of ease back into it instead of rushing in like I did on the AFT. I mean, we were planning 16, 17-mile days every day. It just didn't work out. Been following you for a few years and proud of you. Question, tell me the moment you felt at peace on the trail, carefree and appreciating life. So I guess this goes back into, what we were talking about kind of going in the woods to find yourself. Like, did I plan on that? How did I get to that point? I don't have a specific time that happened or a specific event, but that would probably be around the time that I started to do the facing demons stuff. When I was alone and then I met back up with the Tramley and started wearing those sunglasses. It was a sunglasses episode. And I just remember I don't really care about what people are thinking about me. I am doing something awesome, and this is how life should be. It really is just total freedom out there. It's really, really hard to explain to someone that's never experienced it before, but it's amazing. I don't know how to explain it. I wish I could. I really wish I could. What were the conditions of the shelters with other people in them? Were they crowded? I understand in the Smokies you have to stay in them, so how was that like? Smokies and shelters altogether, I didn't like at all. Not only did you have to listen to people snore all night, but you had to worry about the rodents crawling all over you, and there were a lot of rodents. I wasn't aware of them at the time, but they did end up eating my underquilt and taking some insulation out of there for their own nest. And I didn't like just being in there. It wasn't a good time for me. It was cool to hang out with everybody, but at the end of the night, I would have rather have slept in my hammock. All right, so this one is a multi-part question, so we'll just run down these lines. Cell phone coverage, which worked best, which worked worse? I didn't hear a lot of good things about Sprint or T-Mobile, but I did hear a lot of good things about Verizon, which is what I used. I had really no problems with it the whole way up the trail. It started to get flaky in Vermont, southern Maine, New Hampshire, stuff around that. And northern Maine, you basically don't have cell phone signal at all. Now, I did hear that AT&T was pretty good, but if you're going to hike the trail, Verizon is where it's at. And from using Verizon on the trail, I can probably and honestly say that that's true. But AT&T did pretty well out there as well if it's cheaper than Verizon. Other than having select items mailed to you and mailed home, how necessary was mail drops versus just doing resupplies? Honestly, mail drops weren't really necessary at all. I thought they were going to be a big part of my thru hike, and I just found it easier just to go into town or a gas station or whatever that I could find and just get the food that I needed. Now, I will say that sending mail supplies to certain hostels was definitely much appreciated if you do have someone back home to do that for you. I wouldn't want to try to plan them out to, send them all at once. It was just, hey, it would be good if I had a box full of the, 4 days of food sent to this hostel so I can get off my feet because, I'm feeling kind of hurt. Those were the times where I much appreciated. For instance, the Long Trail Inn, or the Inn on the Long Trail, whatever it's called. We walked a little bit down the Long Trail, got off the AT for a little bit, and came back up in the morning. I would have loved to have a box there because there wasn't really a lot of resupply options there, and Kathmandu ended up having to go into town to do his own resupply, and he was nice enough to get me some provisions to get us by, me and Lucky. So, not necessary, but sometimes it's appreciated. Which hiker app did you find most informative, reliable, and easy to use? Man, I wouldn't hike the AT without Guthook. I think that was one of the most efficiently well-done apps ever as far as information. It still definitely has a lot of technical issues that I wish they'd iron out, especially switching from airplane mode to 3G or 4G. It tended to kind of break. It worked very well on airplane mode as long as you downloaded the data before you switched maps in your next town. What resources did you use to plan your thru hike? Honestly, I only planned the first 2 weeks of my thru hike, and after that, I realized that there was no plan in this thing. You just got to take it day by day. Even if you plan it down to a science, really, it's gonna go haywire. Weather is gonna change. You'll maybe need some more food. You'll get more hungry. You'll want to go into town for something. You can just take all your planning and throw it out the window because that's just the way the trail works. What was your experience with ticks? While you could treat your clothes since you wore shorts, did you find them crawling up your legs? How shielded could you be from bites of other insects? Ticks really weren't that bad, or at least I didn't notice them. I made it a point to check every night, and like when I walked through tall grass, I would check my legs and everything, make sure they weren't on me. I think the whole trail, I only found 2 ticks, and they were in the same exact field. We'll say 3 ticks because I'm probably forgetting about something, but one main field that I walked through, I think it was in Connecticut, that we all had ticks on ourselves, but they, kind of flicked right off. They were just kind of crawling around looking for a place to latch onto. Treating your clothes with Permethrin, I think, worked really, really well. And in times where the bugs were starting to get me, I just wore my ballerina pants, my body wrapper pants. I'll put a link in the description below on Amazon for those. They're an amazing wind pant, and they definitely stop things like stinging nettle or high wind, or if you're getting annoyed by the mosquitoes, they definitely help with that. Jason, congrats on the completion of your AT thru-hike. See, I'm really behind on these. This question was a while ago. With all the different conditions you have hung in, I was wondering if you ever wished you went with a hammock gear Palace instead of the hammock gear standard. Also, what about a 12-foot ridgeline versus an 11-foot ridgeline? Thanks in advance for your time. So that's a great question. I had an 11-foot hammock gear standard tarp with doors, and I felt it a bit lacking at times. I really wish that it was just a little bit longer, like 6 inches longer, but I don't think I would want to go full-on hammock gear Palace, which for those who don't know, that pretty much is a huge freaking tarp. It has doors. It pretty much pitches from above your hammock all the way down to the ground, and it's really designed for winter camping, which it's just something that I really didn't need. It's still really light, but it does take up a lot of volume. I think a tarp in the middle of those two would have been perfect for me on the trail, and that's why I worked with LiteAF to design a hammock tarp right in the middle with all the features that I really wished I had on the Appalachian Trail. Now, he is currently starting to produce these tarps. I'm not sure when he's going to put them on the website for purchase, but I'm telling you guys, this tarp is amazing, and I can't wait to see the final version of it. Did you find time to do stretches while on your own adventure? Will you get back into your insanity program now that you're back home? To be honest, I lacked stretching. I really wish I would have stretched a lot better. Kathmandu, every single morning from day 1 to day whatever it was for him, 140, 150 for him, he took 5 minutes out of every single day, and he had his stretch routine. He got laughed at a lot by his family for doing downward dog and cat-cow or whatever it's called for yoga poses in the morning, but it was very good because I think he was a beast on the trail, and I think a lot of it had to do with his stretching. As far as going back to the insanity program, I tried. My knees just aren't ready to do it yet, so I'm kind of getting away from the high impact training. I've been doing a little bit of, it's called Body Beast. I'm not really a fan of the person that teaches the class, and when I say class, it's in home workout. So I'm just using it for weightlifting. I have no idea what I'm doing at the gym. I could just go to the gym and just be lifting totally wrong, so I'd rather have that instructor kind of in my own home and teaching me what to do next. So that's why I use these in-home workout programs. As far as insanity, I'll probably pick it back up in April. That's my goal. Let me get through the wedding and the honeymoon first, and we'll see where I am. How did you handle your finances while on the AT? Was it easy to find ATMs? Did you carry cash? Did you use credit cards? Very good questions. I've had this question quite a bit too. I saved up before my thru hike for about 2 years, and I tried to get double the amount that I thought I was going to need. I actually ended up saving about $10,000 just from cutting things out, like switching to a cheaper phone plan. I went from Verizon to Google Fi. It's like 20 bucks a month after you buy your phone. It's freaking amazing. I'm not sponsored by them, but it is a good phone plan, especially if you're always on Wi-Fi like I am. So I cut out the big phone bill. I went from $100 to $20 a month. I lowered my internet speed, and I cut out cable a few years ago, which saved me $130 a month right there. As far as finding ATMs, yeah, they're pretty much at every gas station. Some hotels even have them. You don't have to worry about having enough cash at any time. What I did was I usually carried about $80 to $100 at any given time, just because some hostels and local restaurants that you found along the trail didn't accept credit cards. But anytime I could use a credit card, I did. Are you excited to attend trail days next year? Do you regret missing trail days on your thru? Do you regret your start date or your schedule? So I don't regret missing trail days, but I am greatly looking forward to going next year in 2020. I can't wait to just see all the thru hikers coming through and kind of come back as an alumni, if that makes any sense. I think it's awesome, and I can't wait to meet personalities that I've watched on YouTube. And I don't regret my start date or schedule. I think I did the trail really how I wanted to do it. And final question for this month: how often did you have to hang your food pack or your food bag? Was it worth the hassle? Being completely honest, there were probably between 3 or 5 nights that I was just simply too lazy, too tired, or couldn't find the right trees to hang my food bag. So what I did was I simply put all my food in the bag and clipped it to the foot end of my hammock. Now, I would never do this when I was at a shelter site. This would really only be done when I was stealthing at a site that has never been touched, or it's something that looked like it hadn't been used in a while. Now, I do recommend, if you're staying at a shelter, animals have that knowledge that, hey, I got food here last time, maybe there would be food again if I visited again. So I would hang your food every time you're at a shelter, but stuff's gonna happen. So guys, that was it. I will try to keep rolling through these questions as soon as I can. Remember, I want to kind of split up content here, but I will get through all your questions. I do promise still. If you have any additional questions, be sure to leave them in this video in the comment section below. If you found any use in this video, be sure to give it a like, share, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you in the next one. See you later, guys.